Press release from March 23rd, World Athletics Council decides on Russia, Belarus, and female eligibility. So I'm going to scroll down, hopefully not make you guys dizzy here, until we get to transgender and DSD regulations. DSD stands for traditionally disorders of sexual development. They're calling it, they've used differences of sexual development. For DSD athletes, the new regulations will require any relevant athletes to reduce their testosterone levels below a limit of 2.5, that's going to be nanomoles per liter, I think, for a minimum of 24 months to compete internationally in the female category in any event, not just the events that were restricted under the previous regulations. Cool. Not the focus here, but I wanted to read that to indicate that the World Athletics Council has differentiated between people with DSDs, intersex individuals in the older nomenclature, and trans people. Okay, so what follows then is not about intersex people, not about people with differences, if you will, of sexual development, but trans people. In regard to transgender athletes, the press release continues, the council has agreed to exclude male to female transgender athletes who have been through male puberty from female world rankings competition from 31st of March 2023. Hallelujah.
Yep.
Okay, it's about time. In these circumstances, they continue, the council decided to prioritize fairness and the integrity of the female competition before inclusion, exactly as they should have. Finally, World Athletics President Sebastian Coe said, quote, decisions are always difficult when they involve conflicting needs and rights between different groups, but we continue to take the view that we must maintain fairness for female athletes above all other considerations. We will be guided in this by the science around physical performance and male advantage, which will inevitably develop over the coming years. As more evidence becomes available, we will review our position, but we believe the integrity of the female category in athletics is paramount.
Wow.
Amazing, right? So if I may have my screen back. Of course, outfits like Stonewall UK are decrying this as closing the door on trans women competing. Well, no, it doesn't. You can compete against members of your birth sex if you are a trans woman. What it does is it closes the door on trans women cheating, which is different. Right? We aren't supposed to, in sport, allow people to cheat, and that's what the rules are for. So this is finally an organization that has great reach at the international level saying, actually, you know what? We're not going to continue to allow cheating. Thank you very much. We've considered it, and inclusion is not our highest value. Fairness in sport is. So amazing. I really hope this stands and that we continue to see dominoes fall as a result of this.
Yes, and tremendously important that they distinguish between intersex,
yes,
and I believe they did the right thing there, where
yes,
they have to make an arbitrary threshold.
They do.
But they pick the threshold and, you know, let the chips fall where they may. The question actually is this an anomalous case of an organization making the right choice? And there will, of course, be tremendous pushback, and maybe they, you know, buckle,
right?
Or does this signal the beginning of an outbreak of reason on this topic,
right,
where the next thing that's going to happen or should happen is a definitive statement about what qualifies you to go to a woman's prison, right? You know, sport, as much as it is tremendously important, is not the most important thing here. Sending sexual predators to a woman's prison because they declare themselves to be trans is an obviously grossly unjust thing to do.
So then we have, to that point, to all of the points that the trans ideology is trying to make inroads in, because I agree. The trans women in sports issue is the most clear cut at some level, right? Even though obviously having men in women's prisons is a terrible, terrible, terrible idea. But there are lots of crazy arguments that you can make and that have been made. Whereas when we're literally talking about competition, and we are a sexually dimorphic species, and female categories have been created precisely because we have always understood that we have different abilities on average. And if we're talking about elite athletes, then male elite athletes will be better than female elite athletes in almost every sport. And there may be a couple of sports where that's not the case, like ultra long distance running. We've talked about this a bit before. But in general, no, sorry. Why are there different categories in the first place? Because there are differences, and we're talking about the elite. And therefore, the fact that some women are better at a lot of things in sport than some men does not change the fact that we're talking about elite athletes.